Part two. I want to put some animation into the, you know, into the Caprice story, and we wanna give. Why did I open up this straw like I needed it? Shit, I didn't need it. We want to give Stack Doe his flowers with his pioneering of the Minneapolis South Side, being a well-respected gritter and grinder for the shoe game. I don't believe y'all wouldn't have had those shoes. Y'all wouldn't have had those exclusive shoes. You would have had against the little regular smugglers, but you wouldn't have had no exclusives without Stack Doe. Y'all wouldn't have had that. So that's why I had to do a story to put Minneapolis history in its proper context. Y'all just wouldn't have had it. So let's go to the ATM. Go to the ATM, you know, and I'll head over to whatchamacallit. So, part two. This particular story is about. This particular story is part two in regard to this large video implementation company that was in the Southwest Metro. So now we're going right into talking about this third party story that I'm being told. Now I would have never known the details of the previous story unless somebody that would have worked there would have been able to tell me. And later, the brother that this happened to, I'm talking about the brother that was the manager out there, he confirmed it. You know what I'm saying? So I probably know a little bit more than he might have known that I known initially, because, and it wasn't, nobody was throwing salt on the game. This is just what happened, you know? So that's what made me write a chapter called Standard Operating and Procedure. Now I went the wrong damn way. Messing around with y'all. Standard Operating Procedure and how to deal with some of that stuff, you know, like ideas, things you could do, because, you know, naturally, man, when people play with us, we get upset. We don't want to be there no more. You know, sometimes we might want to jap out or whatever like that, and you know that's been our thing. We'll go to HR or whatever the case may be. You know, we don't do a whole bunch of ass kissing on the job willingly. You know what I'm saying? It's not something that we have a revolutionary, revolting spirit. We just don't kind of sit in. We don't sit in our mistreatment and just let it fester. That's not part of our culture. We don't really do that. You know, we be trying to figure out ways to, you know, if we can't get back at them, we be like, okay, let's, you know, so we'll try to use due process. We'll do all kind of little things to try to ease the pain, or, you know, get some of these folks fired. Or worst case scenario, we'll get a lawsuit cracking. We'll get a lawsuit cracking real quick. We'll use that EEOC. We'll do it. So now, this situation with the Somali guy I was telling you, he was probably like a network engineer, or he was somebody on the higher level of things. He was doing pretty good. And what happened was he knew a lot of stuff. He was very skilled in what he did. But you can't be a one-man army, and that's what he was doing. So the other Somalians, this is what I was told by some Somalis that were there. They were trying to say, hey brother, show me how to do this. You know, learn me how to do this, and he didn't want to do it. He wanted to be the one Negro army, and he didn't want to share no game with the other brothers. So as they were asking him to support them and help, he didn't want to do it. So there was a team of Indians. We talking about Kamala Harris folk. There was a team of them, and you know, when they get together, they make stuff crack. I'm not even gonna pull no punches to it. When they get together, they make it happen. If they have somebody in their group that don't know a damn thing, if they got a Ford, a Cisco cert or whatever, they gonna make it crack. They gonna come together and they gonna practice group economics amongst each other, because they figure, well, all right, well, look, yeah, we might be H-1B visa hires or whatever. We might take a little bit less, but we will each one teach one. They each one teach one to death in those environments, and they all stay together. And they have something I learned in college where it's called, I forgot it. I took something called intercultural communication, and it's a term they use. I can't remember what it was, but it's like everybody for the better of the group. So basically, if we're all working on something, damn, wasps starting to get in. If we're working on something, and I'm trying to get something, so if it comes in here, my victory lap CD. If we're all working on something, and it doesn't matter who does so much as the work, as long as the work gets done. I forgot what they call it, but I learned it in intercultural. I think they call high context or low context or something. But there's different. They were teaching us this thing to where you go into different cultures and you go to different places and you see how they do business. All right, hold on, y'all. Let me pause this. All right, so back to this real quick. So the Indians all come together. A lot of them be software developers, project managers. They typically don't do a lot of the physical kind of work. You might get some of them that are network engineers as far as remote, but you don't typically see them doing a lot of desktop support. I've seen a couple. When I was at that place where they were telling me don't train me and all that kind of stuff, they sent him. They sent him, and he was a TCS contractor. He worked there for years. And what they were trying to do is, instead of bringing me as a Citrix administrator, full for what I signed up on, they wanted me to do desktop support and take his job. So they wanted me to do Citrix and desktop and keep me under 70. And I wasn't having it. And they were telling him, do not train me. They were saying this in meetings. Remember what I told y'all, law and order, liberal law and order. They were literally telling that man in front of me, do not train there, do not help him. And they were saying this in meetings, blatantly. So, but that's a throwback. Anyway, they'll do desktop support from time to time. These folks were doing more process development and you know, stuff like that. So what ends up happening is, you kind of, in this company, you kind of bid. You might have a team and y'all might kind of bid to do this project. The brothers was trying to get this project. So yeah, you get paid hourly, but as you start taking projects to work on different companies for installations and things of that nature, what ends up happening is you raise up on the ladder, because you've shown yourself to be proficient. And you've shown yourself to be somebody that can be trusted, somebody that can raise the company up and do things of that nature. And so as you start doing that, your profile raises up. You make more money. So what ends up happening in this situation, the Indians come together. They had highly skilled, what's all these wasps today, man? All these paper wasps. I don't know if that's a paper wasp or a hornet. I think that's a paper wasp. Y'all know I know these things, I studied them anyway. So they came together, they won the contract because they worked together. The brother was trying to do it on his own, and he didn't end up getting the contract. He wanted, or with the project, he wanted the project. He didn't get the project. So he's salty. So now, you know what he does? He goes back to the Somalis and the black folk, Well, I can say all the black folk. In this environment, the black folks for the most part were sticking together. From what I understand, they work together. I'm trying to make this turn. Well, I tell you, this turn on Burkle, it ain't no. You over here on Burkle, man. That's just a bad turn. All right. So, yeah, Burkle. You know it. I think I'm gonna take another amount of meat-eye trip with y'all and do a story. We gonna go to the Lion's Den one of these days. I want to almost take y'all through there at night, but I don't think it's a good idea. I don't know if it's a good idea. There's my man right there. He always be pushing his carts. So, all right. So, this dude, he didn't get the project because he didn't want to share no insight with the other brothers. He wanted to be the one-man army and do it on his own. So he goes back to the brothers. Man, this is what they did. They took the project. This, that, he's belly aching and complaining. He's salty because he didn't get the project. So now he has to kind of keep doing what he's doing. You know what the Somali brothers told him? Nigga, you on your own. Well, maybe we could work together. Maybe we could do some Pan-Africanism. Pan-African. Let's be Pan-Africanists now. They wasn't having it. You be on your own island. Since you didn't want to work with us before, you seen who got the contracts. And they were telling them, man, let's work together and see if we could get some of these bids, because that's more buying power. So now after they complete this bid, what ends up happening is now they can ask for more money, more resources, software, whatever, to do whatever their group. Why is there so many of these joints out here? I'm tripping. They dive bombing. They like the Harlem Hellfighters out here. Damn. They get more resources. They get more money. You have, now you can, and here, this is almost like, it almost feels like it's a union rights thing. It's almost like a union, almost like, okay, I provided you service. I've onboarded this project better. I've saved the company money. All right, this is what we want. This is what we want. So it's almost like when we go to vote, oh, the boogeyman's coming out the sky. He's going to take this away. He's going to put y'all back on the plantation. All right. So now the person that you were already just giving the free vote to, he didn't do shit to prevent you from being on this so-called plantation or whatever. He just let these other folks just blatantly undermine you while you're getting a free vote, right? So basically, you now have leverage. You have a vote. You see what I'm saying? These Indians now have a vote. Well, if you don't want to give us what we want, we can vote couch. We've provided you service, and not only have we provided you service, we've given you. So now when we come to the table, we can make demands. This is what we want or else. Because, yeah, they might be on an H-1B visa, but they have voting power now. They could say, what we did, we want this, that, and the third. You can't force us to do it, you know what I'm saying, anymore. Because we provided you with something that's tangible. We've saved the company money. We ain't got to keep on doing that. We can just do what we've been doing. But the company is they're more apt to say, well, yeah, we'll do it for you. I mean, we'll give you what you want. So the black folks didn't get those benefits. They have no voting power. It's almost like they're just voting just for the sake of voting. I'm putting it in that context. We're just here just getting our percent an hour, but we're not adding to the equation besides the support we already do. This group was not only able to add to the equation, they were able to save money. So therefore, they have more of a voice when they go to the table. And guess what else they did? They started hiring more Indians. They started hiring more of their own people, which they should have. That's something they should have done. Absolutely. So this Negro sitting around by himself on his island because he didn't want to work with the group and he didn't want to share game. He didn't want to do it. So he sat there. He didn't get hired for a new position. He sat in the position he was in. So, you know, that's a lesson on teamwork for your group. So when I was being told this story, I said, okay, this makes perfect sense. Halfway through the story, when they were telling me what happened, I knew where it was going to go. I said, I know what he's getting ready to tell me. He was going to tell me, yo, this dude, he never did accomplish his goal or did what he wanted because he went out of his way to try to hold the information. And that's problematic because what ends up happening, and I'm going to tell you, that's kind of like that old, that same group of folks. Remember I told you I went to that award show? That same group of folks, of black folks, the little, and not all of the people from the Urban League. I'm saying that crowd, that little Boule Urban League, that Divine Nine, Ski Wee ass, that old enlightened black crowd. Oh, we have degrees and titles and this, that, so we know more than the rest of y'all. Oh, the Divine Nine, and we're the enlightened Negroes. We got our fraternity and our Greeks and our academics, and we have our little CNN analyst job and our consultants and we have our French fry, our catfish nugget, Democrat fish fry, and the 94 crime, all of them Negroes. Oh, go to TD Jakes church, all of them kind of Negroes. They think that they have the best idea for the rest of us. So as long as they get a little piece and they can ride in their Cadillac and show up and get all these little bullshit awards and ceremonies and stuff, they feel like they're the enlightened ones. And you have a lot of cats out there that's like that. They might just get one little skill set or a piece or just a piece of information, and they think that they're smarter than the rest of us, like they got the answer. And you have a lot of those groups that even sometimes goes down to some of these nonprofit groups. It might be a serious situation. And let me talk about Minneapolis. You'll get a situation where, let's say, a black person gets killed, right? And you get some out of the blue ass nigga that just came from nowhere. Ain't never really did too much or nothing, but now he has a title because he's been in front of cameras doing little janky half activism, and so now he feels important. He feels important. Now he feels like, well, I'm gonna tell y'all something. I know more than y'all. Some information that might have already been out there, whatever. You got a lot of cats out there that's like that. Well, they didn't come up with the information. They just know how to present it well. You see what I'm saying? So you got that kind of stuff going on too. But he thought he knew it all. I got all the information. I got all the data. I know more of the rest of y'all. I'm going to lead the project. And then you don't end up with the project, bro. You don't end up with the project. So now you get to see everybody else flourish and go to the promised land, and you sitting back in the desert eating camel spider sandwiches and sipping on Diamondback rattlesnake tail shakes. You sitting there with a dry ass mouth because you didn't want to drink from the fruit that could have and the bounty that could have benefited the whole group. You didn't want to do that. So now you just miss out. So, you know, that's that story. I got one more story from that brother about, I'll call him Thankful Bob. Now, Thankful Bob, I'll tell that in another story. But Thankful Bob, he wanted to lecture one of the Somali guys at the site about him being, that he should be thankful to be in this country. He never asked him about, they never had a conversation about, it was just random. It was just a random thing. They had a conversation in the elevator. So I'll do that after a while too. So y'all get that in a minute.